2024 Info Night. I hope everyone's having a good day, and we're glad that every single one of you could join us. So, and pay my respects to the Bedegal people, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we are here today, and pay respects to the elders past and present. So, today's schedule, we'll be going over what Redback is, the business departments and the technical departments, of which are hiring one of you wonderful people for. So we'll first start off with last year's car's launch night video. Wasn't clicked in.
This year and what this team's capable of and the situations we've been in, I think come back better.
Cool, so that was the launch night video for last year's car, RB23, which many of you have probably seen at O Week, and that was one of our more successful cars. So that came second last year at competition, and we're really proud of being able to show that off to every single one of you. We'll also watch the launch night video for RB21D, which is our first driverless car.
We're supposed to go, what is Redback? And then it'll be like introducing autonomous, then we'll watch the video, if that's okay. This just means we watch more videos at once as well. So many rolling shots.
So, one more video, and this will be, yeah. So we'll be just watching another video. Basically, it's just what we do at Redback, and this is kind of what you guys are going to get out of joining our team.
Welcome to Redback Racing, UNSW's Formula Student Motorsports team. We're an engineering student project comprising over 100 dedicated students that work to design, build, and race a Formula-style student car. We then compete down at Winton, Victoria against multiple international and domestic universities, where we get to put our engineering, design, cost, management, and business skills to the test.
Our business team is unlike any other. From the merch that you see on our backs to the livery design that you see in our car every year, we ensure that the Redback team is able to do what it does best, a competition every single year. For our members, we're creators of memories and documenters of the best highlights of the year, and for our supporters, we create everything you see. And what makes Redback so Redback. So let's hear from Anthony, who's out in the field talking about social events.
Today, we are here at Sydney Motorsport Park for Shannon's Speed Series. One of our biggest sponsors, Chevrolet Australia, have invited us to TCR with Darren Rogers Motorsport to give us an inside look into their race car operations. On top of this, we also host a variety of social events, including pub nights, motorsport watch parties, and even go-kart races.
At Redback Racing, you'll learn hands-on skills in manufacturing, machining, 3D printing, and composite manufacturing. Our team of talented engineers work throughout the year to design, evaluate, and manufacture the various components of a Formula student race car. Here in the makerspace, this is the perfect environment to learn and hone the skills needed in industry.
Every week, our technical team are in lab, focusing on designing, manufacturing, and testing the vehicle. Our chassis, suspension and brakes, aero cooling and composites, powertrain, and embedded systems departments work on vital aspects of the car's hardware. Our data acquisition department works on gathering important information from simulations and on-track testing to help us optimize the car's performance. Our autonomous vehicles department helps with both driver and driverless capabilities to prepare us for competition later this year. Welcome to UNSW Redback Racing.
Cool. So, what is Redback? We're a student-led project with over 130 students, and we obviously build one of those wonderful cars over there every single year. We were actually established way many years ago. So we actually first competed in FSAE 2000, and we have come a long way since then. So back in those days, we used to run IC. We've since transitioned to EV. So in 2019, that was our inaugural entrance into the EV class. And that was our first EV. It did not compete dynamically, but it was our first step into the EV class, really getting our hands deep with electrical systems, software, and just manufacturing all of that together. So in 2020 and 2021, obviously we were hit by COVID, but it was a really big period of research and development for our EV class. And that leads us to 2022. So the car designed in 2021 was competed at competition in 2022, and it was our first dynamic EV car. We unfortunately didn't do amazing because of a multitude of issues, but it was a large step in getting to where we are right now. So 2023, our first competitive dynamic EV at competition. It marks our great success in developing EV cars. And as I mentioned before, we came second overall in the FSAE competition for the EV category. It was also a year that marked our step into autonomous systems and building driverless cars. So RB21, the car that was built in 2021, competed in 2022, was converted to be a driverless car. And we've done leaps and bounds in that aspect. So you guys will be part of a team that's driving forward in EV technologies, autonomous technologies, as well as all the other manufacturing, assembly, machining work that you guys will be getting involved in as you join the team. So I'll hand over to Haley, who will be going over our team structure, and we'll introduce the rest of our executive team, as well as all of our departments, our advisories, and the operations teams as well.
Well, Kalinda, you almost did it for me, actually. But you might have not known who we are. We didn't actually introduce ourselves at the start. But Kalindu, this is our lovely team lead. So he's following on from a number of team leads that have done amazing work in this space. And we're really excited to continue under Kalindu's rule, I guess. We also, and then over there, hiding in the back, we also have Kevin. Kevin, give a wave. So he's our mechanical technical director. He will be responsible for a lot of the mechanical side of the technical team. And then we also have Akash sitting over to the side as well. He's our electrical technical director. As Kalindu said, we did change to from internal combustion to electric vehicles not too long ago. And so this is such a growing space. And so now we're needing to put more and more people at the top to actually fully understand this really big system that we're trying to get our heads around. And then obviously we have Daniel, who heads our business department. And that, again, is such a growing space as well. I think that in 5 years ago, business was probably one person, and we probably had about 10 people at our info nights. But now that we see, we have about 50 to 70 people. So it's really amazing to see you get out here and show up, because that's what we really want at Redback, for people to show up and be committed. But to go, and myself, I'm Hayley. I was last year's business director, but this year's treasurer. So working with the money kind of behind the scenes, but really supporting the team through that aspect, because this is a big project. It does cost a bit of money. As Kalindu kind of already said, we have operations and advisory. These are typically reserved for more experienced members of the team. So maybe one day in your Redback tenure, you'll eventually get to operations or advisory with the wealth of knowledge that you'll learn here at Redback. We also have ACC, Aerodynamics, Cooling and Composites, who if you see, obviously you saw photos of a car, all of that carbon work we actually lay ourselves. So here at Redback we get great opportunities to do hands-on work like that. Same with suspension and brakes, chassis, those are the three mechanical teams. And then we have Powertrain, who's a bit of a hybrid of both, embedded systems, data acquisition. We have our cost lead, who I think is here today, but I can't really see him, and our autonomous vehicles. And as Kalindu said earlier, we're starting to move to the autonomous vehicle space. And so that's such a big area of research that we're trying to bring more and more people along the way to do the research and get more hands-on experience. And then over to business, it makes a really big part. Everything, like I said in the video, everything we wear, every media that you see, that's done by the business department. So internal relations, external relations, media, they're all going to speak themselves. I'm not going to take that space away from them. But this just goes to show that there's a multitude of areas that you can get involved in. And what we're trying to do here is give the education and the opportunity for all of you guys to be a part of something so special. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be up here standing, speaking about our team structure, maybe next year or the year on. But off to Daniel for business.
Yeah, so as we introduced before, I'm the business director for 2024. I joined in 2022 actually, so obviously it's been a long journey getting up to be able to privilege to lead such a big team. Like Hayley said, look, 2 or 3 years ago, the business team was run by one person. Historically, we are an engineering society, but what I like to say, and I'm sure you've heard at O-Week, is that we are more than just an engineering society. We run a motorsport team, and it takes a whole bunch of amazing men and women to support us. So obviously, like I said, the media you watched just now, that takes a lot of people to manage, and not just an engineering team. But we do a lot more than just media. We do a lot of internal relations. So you might ask what that means. Essentially, it's a lot of, I guess, managerial and admin tasks. It does sound really boring, but it's actually incredible because you get to work with people like ARC. You get to meet so many in-person faculty, staff, and you get to manage, your own big events. One of our biggest events actually is Infinite and Launch Night, where we invite all of our sponsors, and those are, I guess, the people that are the backbone of what we do. And at Infinite, we introduce our cars, you get to meet our members. It's a really big event. It's a big logistical task, so it does take a dedicated team to manage something like that. And so that leads to our external relations department. That is probably one of the most important departments of our team because they support, I guess, sort of finances, they support the engineers, they support the team in general. All the sponsors you saw up there a moment ago, that doesn't come too easily for us. It takes a big team to, I guess, draw in sponsors, to manage all these sponsors. Getting sponsors into the team is only half the work. It means managing them, being able to engage with, over easily 30 sponsors. And like I said, that takes a big team. But I won't ramble on too long. I'll just say I'll pass it on to Jonathan, which will be talking about media.
right, good afternoon, everyone. Wow, that is a big crowd. So my name's Jonathan. I am the media lead for 2024. So I manage, obviously, all of the media that you see on Redback, whether that be from our socials, our bigger videos, such as the last couple of videos that you saw when you first walked in. And yeah, we'll take a deeper look into what media entails. So media, obviously, as I just said, has a bunch of different roles, whether that includes social media, media productions, which is our biggest scale productions. So our launch night video, the Welcome to UNSW Redback Racing video, all of those big productions that you see from us on our YouTube and across our socials. And then we also have our graphics and concept design. So graphics and concept design, they're responsible for obviously all of the graphics that are across all of our posts. So obviously if you've seen the Info Night banners, the Info Night post that was posted, which I'm guessing how most of you found out how to come tonight, that's where that's what our graphics team does. So they help design that and sort of create the best possible image that looks good across all platforms and also is engaging so that you guys just don't go scrolling past it on your feed, because that wouldn't be very fun now, would it? But yeah, so going deeper into it, media responsibilities. Obviously, Redback is a big brand. We're a team of over 140 students, and we build a car every year. So when you're being integrated with sponsors of such high caliber and being involved in a community that big, your brand reflection is very important, and the way that you present yourself is very important. As many people before me has once said, the better the media is, the better you make the team look, and the better you make the team look, the obviously more sponsors you get, more funding you get, the better car you can build. So media is very important, and as such, it's a very good opportunity to set your best foot forward and present yourself in the most presentable way. So you would be working on maintaining that brand image, continuing it, and ensuring that it's acceptable and up to the standard that we would expect from such a big team. Obviously, you would be creating a bunch of the media that exists on that platform. So whether that be from some bigger scale projects like you would imagine on the media productions team, like the documentaries, the launch night video, to like some of the more smaller videos, so like little vlogs or some of the reels that I'm sure that some of you have stumbled across. So it's media's job obviously to create all those different forms of content and ensure that it is, one, engaging, and two, being always pumped out at a level that is, well, enjoyable. And then also creating content that showcases the team's achievement. Obviously, if we didn't have a media team, not many of you would know what we do, what we achieved. Without social media, a lot of our achievements tend to not be seen by many. So constantly making sure that that is in front of the eyes of everyone to see. So media projects, what does it entail? So sponsorship media, as you can imagine, with the 80 or so sponsors that we do have, each sponsor has their own set of requirements that you have to meet. So whether that be creating a certain number of posts for them, or posting them on newsletters, or creating videos for them, that's one of the projects that you can be doing in media. Obviously our media filming days, so that will be like the days that we film, when we film content for our launch night videos, and obviously all the filming that we'll do throughout the year for our other projects. And then track days. Obviously you can't have a race car without taking it to track, testing it, sending it. So as media, you'll be taking photos of the car, of the members there, and just having a great time. So design. Design is the other part of media that is very important. Obviously, as media represents that brand image, design is responsible for keeping that consistent across all forms of other media. So whether that be posts, whether that be newsletters, even the slides that you see created, that's one of the big roles of design, and it's their responsibility to continue to stay on top of that and make sure that everything is consistent. Graphical content, so obviously all those posts, that I said you've seen, such as this O-Week post. That's part of design responsibilities. And then projects that you work on. So 3D renders, if any of you like to render, as you saw in the launch night video, there's always space for renders. Branding, livery. Livery is probably one of the bigger design responsibilities. Well, you want as well as having the team look as good as possible, you want that car looking nice and shiny. A good livery is always nice, and it's just a nice little flex in front of all the other FSA teams. Merchandise, as you can see with all of our lovely Redback people up in the front. Design is very important to keep us all looking nice and tidy, prim and proper. And then, yeah, social graphics and website. For those of you who have maybe stumbled across the website, you might have seen that it has been rehauled. So that's one of our design responsibilities. And design projects. Obviously, you have our 3D renders, whether that be for your stories, posts, sponsored content, exploded views, any cool videos, livery applications, and obviously graphics. But yeah, that's all from media.
Hello everyone, I'm Jason. I'm the 2024 Internal Relations Lead today. So let's talk about IR. So when it comes to internal relations, it's mainly these three events, which are internal events, social events, and also ARC-related projects. So internal events are like the one you're at right now. So Info Night, launch night is a bit different. It's towards the end of this year, so about early October, where we have our cars ready, and we invite sponsors and also faculties members to come in and show them their cars. And this photos is from last year's launch night. So as you can see, we got 2 cars. It's in Roundhouse. So when you join IR, you'll be responsible for communicating with Roundhouse staff and like basically organizing and make sure everything runs smoothly. We also handle some external or like university events, which is like a week that hopefully you all go to events to. We also do recruitment, so we don't assess you guys. That's the responsibilities of the department's lead. But we handle the logistics, such as writing the application forms, and also like it's just a lot of admin work that requires us to take care of. When it comes to social events, because we're not a course, we want to have fun as well. We are an ARC-related club, so we want to have fun, and IR is also responsible for making sure like everyone are having fun when they're also building a car. So we organize events such as team dinner, which we just had one on Saturday. We had one team dinner in Kingsford. You will also have to like we have to book a restaurant and find a restaurant for everyone to go to, and just make sure that everyone's having a good time while they're like being stressful and building a car. Yeah, other than social events, because I'm also the ARC delegate of the team, so if you join IR, you will also be dedicated with a lot of ARC-related work, such as EGM and AGM, because you've got to make sure that we keep the affiliation with ARC, because they are very important sponsors of our team in terms of financial support, and also like, for example, in last year's launch night, because we are an ARC affiliated group, so we were able to book Roundhouse with like almost no cost. So yeah, ARC is very important. We also handle a lot of those internal grants, such as SEDG. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of. So we're actually doing the first round of SEDG. So yeah, that's a very important report that we have to do 4 times every year. And also activities grants. As you can see, we've got our ARC banner down on the first row. That's also very important in terms of financial support. Yeah, so yeah, that's basically the 3 main events that we handle. As you can see, like social events, I think they're having a sports day, and that was very fun day. Yeah, and I'll give the time to external relations.
Hi everybody, my name's Fatima. I'm the External Relations Lead. It's so good to see so many people here, even though some of you may not be applying for business. It's really good to hear about what business does and especially what external relations does, because you may, if you end up on the team, be working quite closely with us, as a lot of the work we do is for the technical side. So I'm going to go through some of the stuff we do because it's not just sponsors, and I'm going to try and give you as many examples as possible to give you some context, but it's kind of hard because we do attend a lot of events that come up here and there. So we just actually came back from one, which I'll tell you about a bit later on. But so we'll start off with the main one, which is new business development. So that's at this time of year, particularly something we're working quite hard on, and that's getting sponsors for the team. So whether it's parts or a discount on parts in helping us build the car, that's one of the main things we do at this time now while we're designing it, so we can see if it's feasible or not. So that's sponsorship procurement. We essentially reach out to different people, and we follow that through by getting a contact there, and so on. And then under new business development is also financial sponsors and grants. So sometimes sponsors don't give us money, don't give us parts, they give us money. And that also in turn helps us buy parts to build the car. We also apply for different grants that come up. So Jason talked about the internal grants that help us. We also apply for external grants. So the government has a lot of grants that we can apply for as a student project that also help us. Moving on to partner engagement. So once we've got the sponsor, we want to obviously keep them. And so keeping them on, it means like renewing them each year. It also means making sure they're happy with what we are doing for them, whether it's the social media that we're posting or the videos that we're making for them or the events we're attending. It's also, under that is also sending them thank you packages at the end of the year. So it's like curating little things for them as well and making sure that they're happy and keeping that partnership happy. Then moving on, we have community outreach. So this is where it kind of goes quite broad. So we generally, I think as the picture here shows, we try and go to as many schools as possible. And the reason we do that is to try and show students in high school what is possible in uni, because some of you probably when you were in high school you didn't really know anything like this was possible in high school. So we try and get the word about Redback Racing out there. So this is a picture from Tamworth where we went to 4 schools up there. So that was the external relations team's job to organise that whole trip, liaise with different schools, and organise our visit there, basically. We also visit a lot of schools in Sydney throughout the year. That's obviously a lot easier for us to do. We just have to take the car. We also go to a lot of different motorsport initiatives, and recently we went to, just over the weekend, a show called Everything Electric. So there we got a lot out of going to a show like that. Essentially we saw so many people, so many people saw our car, so many more people know about Redback Racing now. So that's what, under community outreach, that's what external relation does really, is try to get the Redback Racing name out there. And we also do something called Girls on Track, which is with Motorsports Australia, and that's organising, once again, for students, and especially girls, to get on the track. So yeah, it's a lot of different events that kind of come up throughout the year. So if there's maybe an exhibition for different cars or something, we'll try and get in that so we can try and show people and showcase the car. So yeah, that's a bit about external relations. I'm really excited. Hopefully you guys will apply or put it as your second choice. It's a lot of fun, I promise. I will hand over to Kevin now.
Thank you, Fatima. Hello, everyone. My name's Kevin. I'm the Mechanical Technical Director for this year. This is Akash. This is my lovely buddy. He's our Electrical Technical Director for this year. It's pretty strange standing up here because It felt like it was yesterday that I was sitting on one of those seats, listening to each of the departments present. Yeah, I take care of the I take care of the mechanical side of things. So chassis, who do the frame and driver safety and things like that. Suspension and brakes, who do suspension and brakes. I'll let them talk about that. And aero, composites, and cooling. What? Oh, it's not there. I promise it exists because the car has suspension and hopefully has brakes, I think.
No, it's wireless suspension.
Yeah. And I also oversee some parts of the mechanical side of Powertrain.
Hi, I'm Akash. So I look after embedded systems, the electrical side of Powertrain, data acquisition, and the electrical and software aspects of autonomous vehicles. Yeah, I'm not going to yap too much about the departments. I reckon our lovely leads can do that for us. So let's just get into it. First off, we have chassis, presented by Sergio.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you, Kevin. Hello. My name is Sergio, and I'm this year's chassis lead. So what do we do in chassis? So we mainly design the primary structure of the car, which includes the frame, but we also do the driver safety, which includes the seat, firewall, impact attenuator, anti-intrusion plate, and the headrest. We also validate all the components that we make, employing finite elemental analysis. And we also do research on alternatives for different materials for the different components for the frame and also in composites. Since chassis is the base of the car, and we have a lot of interdepartmental collaboration to ensure proper integration with all the systems, and also especially focusing on the driver ergonomics. So if you join chassis, which projects will you be involved with? So the first one is chassis. We work on the frame, but also do testing on it, which is torsion test. And we also validate it using FSAE-A. Also driver safety, which includes the seat and harness, the firewall, head restraints, and the impact attenuation parts, such as the impact attenuator and anti-intrusion plate. But also, we work with the ergonomics rig. We build it ourselves. And as it can be observed, the different drivers sit on it. And we are able to take measurements for the proper angles and see like what angles should the components have, and also the space that each component will require. We also have started working with vehicle equipment, which is any miscellaneous parts that are external to the main car, but still are required, such as the push bar, any stands that the car will require, and also wheel lifters. Thank you. Now we will move on into embedded systems.
All right, so I lied to you guys earlier. Will isn't here today, so I'm gonna yap about embedded systems. So embedded systems is responsible for the design, manufacturing, and validation of all the low voltage assemblies in the car. So you have the wire harness and the electrical enclosures basically connecting all the circuitry we have in the car and then tying it all together. You have the power distribution module, which is responsible for safely distributing low voltage power to all the systems that need it. You have ECU and sensors, basically getting all the data, doing all the logic that makes the car act like a car. We have safety circuits and PCBs, basically all the all the competition rules mandated circuitry that we need to have that keeps the driver safe, and you need to pass those regulations to race. So yeah, and as well as driver interface electronics, basically everything that's behind the dashboard and is electrical. And the system's basically gonna deal with that with an asterisk. Yeah, so from that, basically it divides intuitively into 5 of these project teams. So you have wire harness, electrical enclosure, low voltage power distribution, ECU, and the safety circuits. Yeah, I kept it short and sweet. Let's go to Powertrain by Lily and Sebastian.
Hey guys, so I'm Lily and I'm one of 2 leads in Powertrain. If you hear a door bang open, that will be Sebastian, my co-lead. As the other execs have already mentioned, Powertrain is a bit of a special department where there's a lot of electrical and mechanical work. And so a lot of our work is actually around a seamless mechanical and electrical integration. So in that regard, we make enclosures, we mount them, we waterproof them, and we insulate them. Sounds a lot easier than it thinks, considering we had water fall into our 600-volt battery pack one year. But we have... They gotta know the law. But we come back better this year. And yeah, so to describe what Powertrain actually does, we do power delivery. So what that means is actually transmitting electrical power and mechanical power right from the tiny little cylindrical cells that you see right to the motor and to the wheels. And obviously this has to be done safely. You can't just give the car 80 kilowatts and let it go for a run. You have to monitor it, constantly monitor it and manage it as well. So in the pictures here, you can see you have a mechanical system on top. That's the Sebastian. Just in time. So yeah, this is someone assembling our driveline up top, and down here, this is our battery management system. But we will go into a bit more detail about what those projects entail. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Panted, ran all the way here from work. Make space, can recommend. So, the accumulator project is the big battery of the car. This is our 600-volt battery that powers everything else. And if you want to work on it, you will work on the CAD of the system, designing the actual housing itself, as well as the mounting for some of the control electronics.
This segment design project, so like I said, we actually start with like a cylindrical cell that's literally like this big, and this project is about actually assembling it into something that's usable by people, serviceable also by the engineers, and it also has to be able to give us some readings too. So we have to be able to tell how hot it gets and at what state of charge it's at. Yeah, are you ready?
The device tray project is the control electronics for the accumulator. So this is where lots of our safety circuits sit, as well as our battery management system. So if you join this project team, you might be working on things like CAD and manufacturing, as well as some programming for maybe the BMS or the safety circuitry. If you want to do waterproofing and enclosures, this is a good project to do as well.
Nice.
The driveline project is everything from the motor to the wheels of the car, providing the power. So our motor is powered by the inverter, and for our driveline, we have to work on all of the motor selection as well as mounts to hold the motor and the differential in place. We have to design the differential, the housings, the tripods for all of the powertrain between the motor and the wheels. So there's a lot of in-depth CAD and FEA to design the system, and it is one of the most mechanical systems in the car in terms of actual power delivery and design. The electrical enclosure project is the part of the brains of the car. So on the powertrain side, the high voltage side of the electrical enclosure contains more safety circuitry, as well as some circuitry that we need to be compliant with the rules so that the judges at our competition can take a lot of information out of our car and check that we're actually being safe and obeying the rules. So this project involves a lot more enclosure design, waterproofing, mounting, all those things that we love. So if you're interested in kind of a more creative aspect of CAD, this takes somebody who can really think in 3 dimensions and work through these problems. There's also a lot of electronics inside the elec enclosure. So if you are interested in a programming or PCB design, this could be an interesting project to join. But most of the actual electrical side of the stuff is handled by embedded systems, the previous department. Lastly, this year we'll be doing hub motor research and development. So the driveline that you can see in that far right photo, left photo, is our current driveline, and that will be staying the same this year. In 2025, we want to move to hub motors, where we have a separate motor in each wheel of the car. This project is something new for us that we haven't done before, and so it will take a lot of research and development to get it right. And that is what the focus of the driveline team this year will be on, trying to work out what we need to do and how to do it to make our hub motors actually happen. Cool. So in summary, we're looking for creative people, people with CAD skills, people with FEA skills, and people who want to get into high voltage control circuits and safety electronics. Anything you want to add?
I would say we're a special department where, well, we are, in the sense that we're looking for well-rounded engineers. Just because you come from an electrical background or a mechanical background doesn't mean you won't be doing any of your counterpart work. If anything, if you're well-versed in both areas, it makes you a very valuable asset. So yeah, thank you guys. This will be suspension and brakes.
So someone deleted our thing earlier, so I don't know who that was. I can't see anyone either. There's a lot of people though, but that's really cool. But yeah, we recently discovered Bluetooth suspension and wireless brakes. So yeah, if we can do that, that'll be awesome. And so yeah, we're done here. Okay, so suspension and brakes. It's probably one of the most descriptive departments in terms of the name. It's literally suspension and brakes. That's mainly what we do, but suspension and brakes involves a lot of components, and especially this year, with our focus on autonomous system integration, we have a lot of extra hardware that we're trying to put on the car and actually make sure it works really well. So I'll give it to you.
Wait, I just think that wasn't.
No, you can take it. I'll do the next one. Okay, fine, I'll do this one. All right, so our first thing is, for roles and responsibilities, is to engineer the mechanical vehicle dynamics. We make up the majority of vehicle dynamics on the car when combined with aerodynamics and driveline. They have the second part of this, but most of the mechanical grip and all that sort of stuff comes from suspension. And of course, brakes to make sure the car stops properly. Now, the whole thing, our whole department basically revolves around getting the most performance out of the car as possible and make sure it runs optimally at any situation. So this combined with track testing in our vehicle race team, we basically make sure that the driver can eke as much performance out of the car as possible. And that's from the design choice right at the start all the way to every other component that we design and all the validation that we have to do on them. So our department is very intertwined with lots of other departments just because of how fundamental we are to the chassis itself. So other than the literal frame of the car, we're the next thing that goes on the car. There's a reason for that, and that's because without the suspension and wheel travel and all that sort of stuff working with the car, you won't be able to fit all the other components on comfortably and make sure it works. So our integration with other departments starts with sensors. We use a lot of sensors, everything from tire temperatures and brake temperatures to the pressure sensors inside our brake lines to pneumatics that we have to deal with for autonomous systems. We have all sorts of sensors that we have to rely on and also use the data from and actually make decisions on for the next cars. So for example, we had to use sensor data from our competition last year to try and figure out our optimal brake bias, for example. What that means is how much braking you have in the front versus the back. So that sort of stuff, we have to use a lot of sensor data, and we collaborate with embedded systems a lot for that, and we have to help make sure that actually works. Now, kinematic models. That is a very important thing. Combined with sensor data, that's what allows us to actually model the car and try to figure out what to do with each thing that we want to do. So let's say we want to specifically eke out one bit of performance out of one thing. We've got to figure out how to do that, and how we do that is using our models. Now, the next thing is enhanced ergonomic driver designs that we've written up here. So what that is as Sergio talked about earlier with the ergonomics rig, we have to collaborate with them and lots of other departments in that as well, in terms of like aerodynamics and chassis. What other departments do you combine with? Driveline. Yeah. We do all of that just to make sure that we can actually fit components on the car and have drivers comfortable at the same time. Because as a lot of people who might be familiar with motorsport or driving in general know, if the driver's not comfortable, you're not going to be getting a very good experience out of the car. So next thing is we do a lot of materials research and testing just because we're a student project, and the whole point of us is to try and learn. We want to get as much data out of this as possible, and we want to upskill as engineers ourselves. And for that, we have a lot of materials research that we do. For, first of all, the control arms. That's a lot of things. Rich can talk about that a bit later. But control arms are uprights, which is our wheel centers and wheel hubs. And those sort of things. They all require different materials, and we're trying to specifically go into composites this year. So there's a lot of research on that. And we also have to do a lot of testing. And so our department actually revolves around, a lot around that and actually collaborates with aerodynamics, composites, and cooling, which you'll hear about later. And finally, autonomous systems. Autonomous systems, as they talked about earlier, is a big focus for us as a team this year. And our department is probably the biggest collaborator with autonomous systems, just because we have so much hardware to integrate with them to make sure the car actually can drive itself. So what that kind of entails is steering motors and emergency braking systems, autonomous variable braking systems, things like that. And so we have to obviously collaborate with them a lot. Now, our other roles and responsibilities, just as our department in general, are a lot of CAD, rigorous FEA, and physical testing. Now, I have kind of talked about that earlier, but that is very vital to every component that we design, just because if something like this fails, then we get a catastrophic failure and a wheel comes off. That's not good. So yeah, that's what our department roles and responsibilities generally are. I'll give it to you to take the questions.
All right, so first of all, we have about 5 project teams within the suspension brakes department. So the first, I'll go through with kinematics. So kinematics is essentially the geometry of the suspension. So what kinematics is responsible for doing is trying to play around with the geometry of the suspension components, especially like linkages, to assess the track and see how we can improve the performance of the overall vehicle. So that's one of the most abstract concepts to grasp, let's just say, which will be very challenging, but it will be very worth it. And next thing, linkages. So as Tejas already went through, so we do control arms, tie rods, push rods, shock selections, and all that. And one of the main things that we plan to do this year is trying to change from chromoly steel tube control arms into carbon control arms, which a lot of other German universities and Australian universities are trying to do. So for this project, we'll be collaborating a lot with the ACC department. And so that will be a very valuable experience as well. And the third one, wheel assembly, so that's pretty much working on the whole wheel packaging. So that's the tire selection, rim validation, speed sprockets, uprights, carbs, and all that. So that's essentially what's responsible for making the car go, and then that's also one of the most important project teams within suspension, because if you guys are interested in F1, tires are one of the most essential components in F1. So that's what we also work on. And next one, steering. So steering, essentially, we responsible for designing the steering wheel, the steering motors, to just allow the drivers to direct the way. And for that steering project, we also heavily collaborating with AV department as well, because for this year's vehicle, we'll be collaborating. We'll be trying to integrate EV with AV car into one single car. So that'll be a big challenge for steering as well. And lastly, brakes assembly. So that's essentially what it says. It's responsible for stopping the car, and especially in endurance tracks, there's a lot of cornering and shifting to do. So brakes is one of the really important departments in suspension as well. And for that, we'll also be integrating AV components like EBS, ASB, and all the sensor integrations as well to make sure our car can brake properly and just in the right timing as well, yeah. So yeah, as Tejas already mentioned, suspension and brakes is really cross-departmental. So you guys will have a lot of opportunities to work with other departments, especially ACC and AV. So it'll be a very rewarding experience if you come to suspension and brakes. And yeah, I guess that's it for suspension and brakes.
Just before you start, before we leave, just generally, just what we're looking for is people who want to basically start from the first principle to understand vehicle dynamics, because that's the fundamental basis of our whole department. If you understand vehicle dynamics, or you want to learn and understand vehicle dynamics and how that translates to basically any choice that's made by most of the technical departments on how to go forward, this is where you basically start. As Rich said, the tires are the basis of everything, and that's what makes, attaches the car to the ground and makes it, move forward. So if you don't get things from there starting correctly, you kind of lose the plot. So yeah, that's it.
Howdy. We're another department that is fairly descriptive. We handle aerodynamics, cooling, and composites. I'm Kyle. I also have another co-lead, James. I'm not sure if he's here. He might also burst through the door, maybe. He said he may make it. Okay, so what is aerodynamics, cooling, and composites? Mainly, our whole goal is to try and get the most out of the car, the most out of the dynamic package, and create a drivable car that any of our drivers can use to its absolute limits all the time. Aerodynamics' main job is to get more mechanical grip out of the car, to give it that extra 20%. Cooling's job is to make sure we can apply 100% of the power all the time, because if our accumulator and battery management system get too hot, the car shuts down, and then we don't finish endurance, like 21. So we try not to do that. Composites is all about reducing the weight and increasing the stiffness and responsiveness of the car where we can. And we're going to be doing a lot more of that in the coming years. So looking specifically at roles and responsibilities, we're starting to move a lot more into simulations, simulations and modeling, so whether that be computational fluid dynamics or finite element analysis and methods, we're placing a lot more emphasis on that. We want to start developing better models that will allow us to bite off a lot more challenging projects. Speak of which, so typically we've used ANSYS CFX. We're moving to ANSYS Fluent. It'll allow us to do a lot more parameterization and automation and optimization. So that'll allow us to be a little bit more hands-off and let the computers do the work. OpenFOAM would be really cool. It would allow us to own a lot of our process and not be reliant on ANSYS. Composite-wise, we're looking to do a lot more vacuum infusion. You could consider that aerospace grade composite. So we really want to get into that, especially if we're going to produce a monocoque chassis next year. We're looking, hence the advanced composite structures. For that, we're looking to actually experiment with some multi-physics FEA. It's a little more challenging, but we think we can get there. And also some explicit crash dynamics would be also pretty cool for that system. Cooling, you work a lot, or very closely with mechanical and electrical systems that design the accumulator, because cooling the accumulator is one of the single biggest challenges that we can bite off to do better at competition. Like, this is where some of the biggest points deltas can be made. So it's a very big challenge for us this year, and it's probably the biggest overarching goal of our entire department. So doing thermal fluidics CFD is incredibly important, and we're looking into that this year. Thermodynamic validation to go with that and build a better model is what we'll be testing mainly at track, and getting better sensor integration so that we can do that more effectively will hopefully tie it all together and make it work how we want it to. We're not specifically recruiting this recruitment round, but there's always room to transfer over from other departments in the future. We're kind of changing up our model a little bit, and we've got a really big team as well. So we're looking to see how that will naturally evolve, but the door's always open, I guess, in short. But no, thank you. Now off to Shadi and Brendan.
Thank you very much. So my name is Brandon. We'll just wait for Shadi as he's walking downstairs. Yep, so my name is Brandon, and I am leading data acquisition this year with Shadi.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, we're going to tell you today about what data acquisition is about. So what is DAC? Data acquisition sounds pretty boring, but I assure you it's not. We're primarily a software department, a software-focused department, but we do have some hardware components on the car. So data acquisition, we deal with data. How do we get data off the car? We have a firmware and hardware system like a little compute device on the car that we use to get data from the car. It's from a system called CAN, so you'll probably hear a lot about that. And then how do we display data to the team? So we have a telemetry system. It is a full TypeScript website. You can actually go to it right now, but I will not say the link because it'll distract all of you. But yeah, it is online on the cloud hosted by AWS, and the team uses it at track days. They use it at comp to monitor the status of the car live. And yeah, so speaking of cloud, how do we architect how everything connects together, how the Telem embedded systems connect together? That's in AWS cloud. And then finally, providing useful information to the team with data science apps. So we have a bunch of simulations. If you're interested in vehicle dynamics, we got a lap simulator. We're working towards building a composite laminate simulator. We'll talk more about that later. But basically, yeah, working with the team. So we effectively operate as a flat software structure, but different people have different specializations. And we use all industry-grade tools, Docker, AWS, Bitbucket, Confluence, Jira. So yeah, we're basically a mini software team, I guess, a mini software business. So what is the state of DAC? We're losing members. But we're hiring. Why are we losing? They're graduating, man. They're all gone. So we're hiring. We've got a bunch of people. If you're interested in software, we're going to take you through the different projects we do now. Not again. All right, so embedded DAC. There is an embedded systems department, which I know is a bit confusing, but maybe we're a bit more high-level compute and software focused. So yeah, we work on projects such as the driver displays on the car, as you can see. This was actually during comp. If you watch the onboard video, you can see it working in full force. That's on YouTube. Yeah, and that's the software for it, the GUI graphics. And this is a design that we're proposing this year based on an STM. So before we had a Pi system. But yeah, if you're interested in low-level Linux development, embedded systems, Raspberry Pis, microcontrollers, all that jazz, I think this will be a department for you. Yeah, pretty much that's with embedded DAC. Oh yeah, and also, I think there's another slide. Yep. So, yeah, we got a meme, you know. Yeah, so actually, speaking of software, this is actually just a mini diagram of how software gets from car to cloud. And as you can see, we use all different libraries, whatever such, networking, programming. We have actually, the car has a 4G SIM card in it, which means you can actually call the car on your phone if you wanted to. But yeah, if anyone knows what Yocto is, shout out to you, please join our team. But yeah, that's embedded DAC. Another department, which you may be keen to join, is data science. So yeah, in this department, you design, architect the simulators. You talk to other people in the team, vehicle dynamics members, aero members, such as in the case of the composite laminate calculator. We're trying to simulate real phenomena in a simulation. The team can just input values into it, quickly get our result, then we run it, test it on the track. So if you have Python, TypeScript, C++, MATLAB skills, whatever the case, yeah, join data science. You'll be working with all the similar tools. You'll be working with DAC. So yeah, we're all integrating the system together. Now I'm going to hand it off to Brandon to talk about cloud operations.
Yeah, so basically, as Shadi has alluded to earlier, cloud is basically how we get all of our software subsystems put together and merge into one. We use AWS as our cloud provider. We also use Terraform, which is an infrastructure as code language, and that basically allows us to autonomously deploy our projects. One of your responsibilities will be to create adequate infrastructure to support our software systems. You'll be making sure that our systems are always up, they're never down, and you're also going to ensure that our systems are secure. We obviously don't want someone to just come in and hack and take our data. yeah, you'll also most likely be in close contact with our two lovely AWS representatives who we have contact with on Slack, and you'll be talking to them about how to go about deploying certain software subsystems using their AWS platform. I guess one thing to add, being a software team, is that we are always constantly evolving our tech stack. You know, and we also follow agile development, so we're running 2-week sprints. There's always tickets to be taken, always things to do. Actually, in relation to cloud, we actually did recently move from IBM. We were sponsored by IBM. However, we had to move to AWS. So that was a very rushed move, I would say, but I think it's for the best. That basically sums it up for cloud. Moving on to our telemetry system. So this is basically all our backend services wouldn't really mean much unless we had a user interface for users to interact with. And so basically that's what our telemetry system is. It is an in-house produced React-based application. It consists of multiple pages, but basically we have a live telemetry page which provides us a means to relay real-time sensor data from the car to the front end, and that's basically how our race engineers will be able to I guess, interpret that data. Data analysis allows us to review and compare historical data. So all the data that's streamed from the car is stored in the cloud and can be retrieved at any point in the future. And with all of our data science applications that Shadi has mentioned earlier, those are also interfaced through our telemetry system. Yeah, I believe that is. Oh, and this is a GIF of our telemetry system running. I don't know why it didn't loop, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Battery temperature?
Yeah, so we have a live chart, so you can see trends in data. We have a bit of a live value there in the bottom left, and we have battery segment temperatures in the bottom right. That pretty much sums it up for data acquisition. So I guess we'll move on to AV. Maybe not. There we go.
All right. Hello, I am Raphael, and this is Samed, and we are the autonomous vehicle leads for this year. Now, the autonomous vehicles department, our job is to take the driven race car and make it self-driving to race against other self-driving race cars. And this is a very exciting area for the team, because this year is the first year we're going to be integrating with the rest of the car. So we're going to make a hybrid car that can be driven or driverless. This is a very exciting field because we reach across almost all the departments in the team. Specifically, we integrate most with suspension and brakes and embedded systems. We also have a major software component to autonomous driving, as I'm sure you can imagine. So that includes our perception systems, so how the car sees the road, mapping, simulations, and control systems. And then there's also a major hardware side to that, which your steering, throttle, brakes, all that kind of stuff, which we'll get into. But yeah, like I said, so we definitely integrate very heavily, especially this year with every other department. So in AV, you'll get a chance to see almost all the systems in the car. It's very cool in that way. So this is a picture from last year. This was the very first time that this car drove autonomously. I know it doesn't look like it. There's a person in the car. That was just in case. But the car is currently driving itself completely autonomously in this picture, which is pretty cool. So in our AV hardware, we have three major projects, that being our steering system, so how the car can turn the steering wheel quickly and responsively to be able to navigate around the track. That being how the car requests throttle, but this also includes how the car integrates with all the AV systems. So Dak mentioned CAN, we use that a lot, how the AV systems decide where it's going to go and then communicate that to the rest of the car is a large part of what we do. And then the third thing we do is our braking system. So we need our car to brake reliably in emergency situations, and while it's driving around the track, it needs to brake for corners and that kind of thing. We use pneumatics for that, and that is being, again, integrated with the brakes department. So they're working closely. Sumedh will talk about software.
Yeah, cool. So we have a lot of obviously hardware components on the car, and you need smart software to control these things. A lot of people think it's just all AI, car.drive, and the car runs itself. Doesn't work like that. So we have 4 major pillars of software, those being perception, mapping, control systems, and simulations. I'll just quickly go over what each of these do. So perception, we have a LiDAR and a camera on the car. This takes in cone data from the track and then sends it off to mapping. Mapping then creates a map of the track and generates waypoints, which are then given to control systems. Control systems then uses this data to actuate the brakes, the throttle, and the steering. And obviously all of this is tested in our simulations pipeline. So we test all of our code before it's deployed onto the car. So those are our 4 software projects. Something to note here is that software is not separate from the rest of the team. So you'll be still working with lots of sensors and working with electrical integration with the rest of the car. And it's also not a work from home role or anything. So software is still very much, you have to come in every Saturday. It goes the same for DAC. Everyone has to come in every Saturday. You work with the rest of the team. I think that's something we had to clarify last year. But yeah, we're looking for people who have experience, but also it's the system we've built so far. It's pretty custom, so it's going to take some time getting used to. And in FSAE driverless, there's no silver bullet where you just install a bunch of packages, put them on the car, and get the car to run. So there's going to be a lot of onboarding and understanding of the car. It's also not just a project where you get assigned a certain task and you just do them. There'll be a lot of research and development that you'll have to do yourself, and figuring out design decisions along the way as we go along. So yeah, we're looking for people with experience, but as well as people that are willing to learn the software system that we have and explore new technologies in terms of what we can put on the car. So yeah, I think that is it from AV. Do we have anything? Next one's operations, and I think Tim will be taking that.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim. I am the Supreme Leader of Operations. That's why my name's first. I'm kidding. But yeah, so I'll keep it brief because I know you guys want to talk to all the technical departments and learn what they do. But yeah, our role is basically just to make sure the team's running well. We do all the boring stuff like make sure CAD's running, documentation's all good, make sure manufacturing's all good, yeah, all that stuff. And then lab and safety, that's my role, I'm the lab and safety officer. Just ensure that all inductions run smoothly. Make sure you guys don't accidentally shock yourself with a fun little 600 volt shock. And yeah, make sure our lab is stocked well with all the cool stuff and materials. But yeah, that's about it.
And finally, we have our driver development. So this is a bit less integrated into our technical departments. It's quite related to our driver development and our race engineering. So if you guys are interested in joining driver development, you can get involved in driver fitness. That is essentially you're taking our 4 drivers, making sure they're all prepped and ready to go for the final competition, make sure they're ready for track day, so you're preparing race suits, helmets, making sure that drivers are ready for their track day, safe, and primed for training, as well as driver recovery. So if you guys are interested in maybe doing more of the race engineering side of things, you can also get involved in race engineering. So you're synthesizing the driver and the car, essentially getting feedback from drivers, doing outlaps, bringing them back in, seeing what can be improved on the car in its current state, tuning the car. You'll get really, really, really in depth with vehicle dynamics because you'll have to understand what bits of the car make what performance gains. And if that'll be the best way for you guys to get integrated with track days. It's great fun. You'll be able to see what happens as a team, what we can do together on a track, and be the first person to see the car on every track day. So before we get into our main Q&A, does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask before we split into our Q&A session? So in the Q&A sessions, we'll get each department to go find a spot in the room. We'll hold up a sign for each department. The ones you guys want to ask questions for, just go up to the lead. Don't bombard them with questions. Have a go. Everyone gets a turn. But does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask before we do that? Yes?
What's the weekly commitment like?
So the weekly commitment, we really just say 15 to 20 hours. So that includes Redback Saturdays. That's the really important one. And Redback Saturdays is where we all come together as a team, come to university, have your weekly technical meeting. So the weekly technical meeting is when you get a really good understanding for what the team's up to on a week-by-week basis. You'll be able to see your department leads talk to the technical directors, talk to the rest of the business team, and figure out what's happening this week, what's actually going on. That's relatively, we recommend you come in at 10 a.m. for that. But the really important thing is you come in on Saturdays. You come together with your team. You get involved with building the car, designing the car, making the car. We expect people to come to track days if you guys are available. That's the best way to see what the work you do, how it performs on track. And obviously on top of that, you'll have your weekly meetings, 1 or 2. The commitment sounds big to maybe some of you, but once you get into the team, once you get integrated, once you figure out where your friends are, it's not that bad. You'll be making quite the biggest friends, like your long-term friends you'll keep for a long time, and these are people that are really strong-minded. They'll be going off to high places, and so will you guys. Does anyone have questions?
What's the application process like?
Yes, so the application process. So if you go to our Instagram and Facebook, there's a link to our link tree, and at the very top of the link tree is an application form. You fill out the form, give us your name, what degrees you guys do, what departments you'd like to apply for. If once all that's done, you'll be given a technical assessment for that department. You'll be given around 2 weeks to do that. Once you've submitted it, if you've done really well, you'll be pulled into an interview with the department lead. Nothing crazy. It's more of like, get to know you. What kind of things do you like to do? How's your commitment like? If you're passionate to be part of the team. If that's all good, you're part of the team. You don't have to apply again every year. You're part of the team, and then you can get involved in what we do.
I'm super keen, and I just randomly, coincidentally have Saturdays free. So if I come at whenever time, how long am I allowed to stay and work at Redback? Like what? Like the whole day? Because I can do the whole day, but I'm just curious how long I'm allowed to stay to work.
Yeah, of course. So we usually get in at 10 a.m. That's our tech meeting time. Every month we always have a general meeting, and that's mandatory for everyone to come in at 11 a.m. to be part of the general meeting. But once you're on Saturdays, you can stay as long as you'd like to. We usually finish up around 4 to 5, just depending on the time. But if you're welcome to stay around until 8, which is when our lab closes, 8 p.m. and we're out. Any other questions? Yes. Ooh, that's a difficult question because we don't have a team-wide number we look for. So each department has different goals and intake goals. So it's highly dependent on the department, and I can't really give you a number for that, unfortunately. Yes.
If I end up getting into any of the departments and I want to move to another department for whatever reason, what is that like? Is there any catch and things like that?
Yeah, generally we expect people to stay in the department for at least a year, and then we have internal movements at the end of the year going into the new year. So we can't really say that we'll let you guys move in within the year. Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis. If there's certain issues or if you really, really, really don't like what you're doing, we can work around it. But the general expectation is the departments you guys apply for this year are the ones you'll be staying on for the rest of the year. And if there's any internal regrouping, we usually do an internal movement at the end of the year, and most people, to be honest, just stay at the department they joined in because it's really familiar, and they get to be involved in the next level of design in the year after. But there's no locking in for the rest of your Redback career, so to speak. Any other questions? Yes.
When do we, or how do we get access to that technical test you were talking about?
Yes, so recruitment closes on the 16th of Feb, and we'll get those out ASAP within a couple of days. So they're already ready to go. We just need final numbers for exactly who's applied, and then they'll be shifted out within at least a week.
So the test, is it kind of like there's different stages to recruitment where you have to pass the initial form, then you do the test, and then you do the interview? There's different filters, or?
Yeah, I would say so. So the form itself, there's no like checking on that. We just send you guys all TAs. And then the technical assessment depends on which department you do. So for the software teams, they tend to be like coding assessments, hacker ranks, or our style of hacker ranks. But for other departments, it might be more technical stuff. It might be just seeing how you guys think. We don't have any expectations for prior experience, especially if you guys are in first and second year. It's more about how well you think, if you have that engineering mindset, so to speak, or just honestly the passion and commitment. We really look for willingness to learn and willingness to connect, to be committed to the team, and we don't really expect you guys to be giving the perfect answers straight away, because that's not what Redback is, and that's not what engineering is about. It's about figuring out what you did, why it went wrong, why it went well, and how to improve it from the next time you do the same thing. So.
There's no TA for business, so if you're applying for business, it's a straight interview, but that doesn't mean you're going to get into Redback easier in business. It just means we have a different recruitment style for business. That's all.
Yep. Any other questions? Yes.
So if you're not too concerned about the knowledge, does that mean first years are welcome to apply?
Yes, of course. So first years are more than welcome to apply. A lot of our recruitment in previous years has been from first and second years. And it's a great opportunity for you guys to obviously make friends, get involved on a project, learn. The most important thing is to learn the most that you will ever in your degree. I've learned so much more from being part of Redback, and it really complements your degree. So if you guys are in first year, second years, don't be scared. Feel free to apply. We're not scary. We will try our best to accommodate for your circumstances. And like as long as you're willing to commit, willing to learn, that's all we really, really expect out of you guys. Yes.
Do we get paid?
You can't be asking that question. You get paid in experience and the flex to say that we came second last year against all the other Australian teams. Yeah, the first team, the team that came first last year was from New Zealand, so we're the first Australian FSAE team in 2023. 26 globally.
So you don't get paid directly through Redback, but I can just say it's a great thing to have on your resume or as an experience to talk about. Everything you learn here, it's like you're working in a real business. Everything from business to technical, it's like a real company. So all the experience that you bring, it will also help you in your employability later on. For example, I think I can speak for many of the Redback members in this room, but personally, I've gotten jobs because of I've talked about Redback for like 15 minutes, and they're like, all right, we'll let you in. We have team members that are going to F1. I think you're actually in the same room as two future Mercedes F1 team members. We also have a lot of members that end up getting motorsport jobs and really getting involved in that kind of career. So in that way, you kind of do get paid. Do you want to say something?
I was going to ask how many members are going to Tesla and how many members are going to Mercedes?
Ooh, I think we've had five total members in recent history go to Tesla. So they've worked on battery cooling, battery packaging, project management, things like that.
This is more specific, but are you looking into doing active cooling for the battery pack, or is it just like passive?
Ooh.
That'll be a question for the Powertrain department to answer. Ooh.
Well, you'll know when you be part of the team, you know. But the fact that you know that's pretty good. Any other questions? All right, sweet. So we'll get all the. Oh yes. Hi. What made me join the team? Actually, so in year 12, I think I was looking at the uni website and I see this fine little car up here, and I was like, wow, what's Redback Racing? I ended up joining UNSW, obviously, and I saw applications were open in 2021, so I joined my first year as well. And for you guys all in first year, it's such a good experience. I joined Redback because I honestly just wanted to work on a car, but Redback is a lot more than that. It's obviously you get to work on a car, but you're the ones designing it, you're the ones making it, you're the ones seeing it run for the first time, and you get a little teary-eyed because you see the thing you built zip away. But obviously people have different reasons, and that's just what it is. A lot of people join just to work on a car. A lot of people join to have work experience, to make friends. A wide array of reasons, and they're all fantastic reasons to join Redback Racing. Any other questions? Yes. Who drives the cars? So we have one of our drivers here, maybe more, two of our drivers here. But to drive the car, you have to be, first and foremost, be committed to the team. So we don't just pick a driver from, I don't know, some karting champion. They have to be, first and foremost, be part of the uni and be part of the team, and also be people that are working on the car themselves. You have to be committed. But the very last factor is you have to be fast. So you have to be the top 4 drivers at Redback Racing to be one of the 4 races. But that shouldn't be why you join the team. It can be an added bonus, and it can be the reason why you try really hard. But if that answers your question, commit hard and race fast. Any other questions? Yes.
Is that why you have the team go-kart nights?
Yes, that's why we have team go-kart nights. So so part of our recruitment for drivers is to tell them, we see everyone's times. The top 8 drivers go off to a single hyperkarting session, and then they race in that to find the top 4. But obviously we also have our internal events. We go hyperkarting, go-karting, not just hyperkarting, and all sorts of other events, sim racing as well. Any other questions? Lovely. All right, technical leads and business. Yes.
So we are going to split up into Q&A right now. As Kalindu said, we are going to go to different parts of the room, go to the people that you want to speak to, and that will happen for another half an hour to 40 minutes. And then we're actually going to go to pub. And so a surprise that actually the Redback team doesn't know is we get 20% off food now. So if you want to come down to the Reed Hotel, which is the pub that we're sponsored by, very, very grateful for that, we're going to get food discounts. So if you want to come down with us, ask a few more questions. If you want to get into the team, show your face around, get to know the team. That's the best way to better your chances to get on the team and enjoy a pub feed with us. So go ahead, disperse. Sorry?
Did they get discounts?
No, we can get discounts. Like they just get us.